Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer. And today with me, I have an amazing gentleman. His name is Mr. Brian Yocom. Welcome to the show, Brian. I am very glad to have you here. I wanted to make sure that our audience of parents and parent entrepreneurs to kind of get a feel for what it is that you do. I think your message is very important, and I wanted them to learn a few things from your expertise. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule for being here. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got involved doing what you do?
My pleasure. For 28 years, I served the homeschool community, taking books to homeschool conventions, and part of the time had a brick and mortar store. And while I was doing so, I discovered they were having at least three challenges. Uh, as we would, no child is a grade level package, and all the homeschool curriculum was packaged as grade level packages, where no child, all children learn at various paces in the different strands of their learning, and there was no means to adapt a textbook approach to this because they take everything at the same time. Uh, as I would help the people pick out the optimum program for each of their child's learning styles, it would almost always come out that because they were single income families, they couldn't afford the optimum package. So they would end up settling for often just picking up used textbooks and then planning on passing them down from child to child, which meant that the second, third child were not necessarily getting curriculum that was targeted to the way they learn.
Right.
So the lack of income, the lack of flexibility for the children, and I had no resource to help them teach life skills. That the canned curriculums are based on this cornerstone on the Common Core state learning standards, and these are all academic. They go through them at the same pace for everybody,
Mhm.
but they do not account for a child's personal, where they come to the curriculum at with what background knowledge, how fast they are able to learn, that they do not adapt for the person's own personal interest. And
Right.
so when I was forced to give up the homeschool conventions because I lost my eyesight in my right eye, I lost my driver's license, and the conventions were what was supporting the store. So I shut that down, brought everything home to my basement, and put it up on Amazon. And I pivoted because I decided, okay, I know the challenges the homeschooling parents face, and I have been in many business over my life, and I counsel them to create an online home-based business that they love because they focus on what they do best and outsource the rest.
Right.
I had the Cornerstone Learning Connections mobile app created for me, in which I can deliver the courses I curate to address all the special interests that they need for developing their business or for their own personal interests. And in it, I can also market the courses that I teach them to create, featuring what it is they love, because you don't might not think you know anything, but if you've got 50 cents worth of knowledge in a topic, somebody who has 5 cents worth of knowledge is interested in learning that.
Right.
So
Actually, what you're saying is really important because, especially after COVID, a lot of parents have assumed the responsibility of educating their children. And what typically is the assumption is that you just take whatever curriculum they're teaching at school and be converted to basically classrooms inside the home. And the classrooms at school already came with challenges, and adding or bringing that home actually multiplies the problems that the school was facing as a result, not to mention the
exactly.
fact that most often parents are not directly themselves educators or have education degrees to begin with. So this creates this environment where we're kind of trying to get this knowledge pounded into the kids without an understanding of what the kids are bringing to the table, what they're interested in, their personality, imagination, love of learning, and creativity. So, what you're doing is phenomenal because it is something that is not only lacking in the homeschool, but also very much even in the school systems. And it is essential for the next generation of kids that are going to become adults and enter the workforce because many of the jobs are being lost to artificial intelligence and technology. So if the kids don't exercise being in touch with their creativity, their love of learning, and make it a lifelong thing, they're going to be obsolete by the time they're ready to join the workforce
Right.
based on the information that we're kind of trying to teach them in the meantime. So thank you for doing that.
Yes.
So that being the case, when parents are coming to you, homeschool or otherwise, and they're asking for help, what are some of the typical complaints and challenges that you do hear from them?
Uh, well, I've basically enumerated a lot of these that not being able to afford what is out there, not really addressing the needs of their children,
Mm,
and they do not know where their child is functioning when they come. My first thing I recommend to everybody is invest in getting a professional assessment of where each child is in all the
mhm,
different learning stands, and then address each strand appropriately, letting the child go as slow as they need to, or as fast as they are able. And due to the abundance of things that have been created to meet the Common Core state standards, this is easily done, and you can take and piecemeal from multiple different programs. You're not stuck in any one program for one child, for example. I highly recommend that you go to the Wings to Soar Online Academy's website and purchase their assessment of where your child is, and whether you choose to work with them or not, you'll have some background to base your decisions on what you do want to do. And
mhm.
as I said earlier, textbooks are the one of the worst ways to deliver content. The uh, technology of the internet has made all sorts of excellent video programs presented by professional teachers available to you, and uh, it's just a case of picking what is appropriate for your child. But you do have to make sure that either you or someone you hire is monitoring the progress of your child.
Okay, so what you just said is actually really important because many parents they want the latest and the best and the greatest thing for their kids as far as curriculums or what's out there with all the bells and whistles, but that might not necessarily be the best thing for your kid per se. And then at the same time, knowing where your kids are can also save you money. So
Yep.
on one hand, you're spending extra money someplace where you don't need to. On the other hand, there are places where you really need to focus on investing so that long term the cost goes down for you. And that comes from the assessment up front and making sure that you're starting at the right place with the right program in the first place. So both of those are really, really important stuff. Cool. All right. And then, so what are some of the things that if parents are watching this show, they could go home and kind of look at their kids, look at their situation with the education, and kind of start taking the right steps? You did mention Wings to Soar, but what would be a tip as far as connecting to your kids and understanding where they're at education wise?
Talk to them. No, don't talk at them. Ask a question and listen to their answers, and listen to what they're not saying as well as what they're saying. That's a starting point.
Right.
That first, have them figure out what it is that they have been successful at and what they would love to be doing. That what is their personal passion? If they could be doing one thing full time, what would it be? And it's from this, and you do the same for yourself. It's from this that you develop your curriculum and your courses and build yours and their lives.
Right. And is there a time where this is more detrimental? Meaning, like, is it elementary or high school? When is a good time to do this?
You need to, the discussion kind of level, probably by middle school at least. At the elementary level, it's okay, what are you struggling with? What tools do we need to have to help you lay the foundation you need on an ongoing basis? As
Got it.
you move up in through the grades, you start to realize that I really would love to be going in this direction, and the with the blessings of Google, there's nothing you can't pursue.
Right.
Um, so with at the lower level, fill in the gaps. Even if they're in high school, if they've got lower level gaps, back down to where they are functioning right now and lay the
Mm,
foundation. You may have to spend a year or 2 years sometimes getting that foundation down, but once it is laid, you will make much greater progress in everything they do in the future.
got it. Okay, so you did mention something about your app and ways where people can connect with you online. Can you tell us a little bit more about how people can look for following you and support from you?
In the Apple Store, it's called the Cornerstone Connections app. In the uh, Google Store, it's Cornerstone Online Connections app. And you
Got it.
can download that app for free. Once you do so, I highly recommend you sign up as a member of the app, because when you do that, that gives you immediate access to 62 free short targeted courses that are available. And then I recommend you register to receive notifications as new content is added to the app. You can register to get a daily tips. You can register to get daily affirmations,
Mhm.
and all of this level of things are free. I do create courses which are for sale, and the uniqueness of what I do is twofold. I take and on the success oriented kinds of courses, I approach them from a biblical perspective of uh, God gave us the Bible with commands to obey, promises to claim, examples to follow or avoid. And so if you're dealing with the subject of forgiveness, I will bring that up in the context, or
Mm, okay.
gratitude or whatever. I do
Okay.
not
Awesome.
push it, but I do integrate it with everything else, which I'm unaware of any other coaching program that does this integration for those who want it.
Wonderful. I
Um,
love it.
let's see. So request the notifications of new content. If you would be willing to schedule a 15-minute call with me, I would love to interview you and find out what challenges you are having, and be able to create or curate courses directly targeting the subjects that are of interest to you. I do not want to just dump things there and assume it. I want to create 6 to 8 week courses kind of thing that you get a firm foundation on something and can be starting to move on it in the direction you want to go, not be
That's very
waiting on forever.
generous. I appreciate it. All right. So, guys, I highly encourage you guys to take Brian up on this offer. I'm going to put the information, contact information, everything in the description box. So, do be sure to go and check the description box of the video for the links, numbers, emails, all of those things, and make those connections. This is something that not only can change the course of your kid's life, but also be able to save you money and a lot of heartache and headache and grief in trying to steer your children in the right direction and make it a lot more pleasant, and your relationship ends up thanking you for it as a result. So very, very important. Look for support. Here is a man that can give you some of that. So I encourage you to reach out and ask for connecting. Also, if you haven't already done so, please make sure that you click the subscribe button so you get notification whenever we have an expert coming here, sharing their expertise and their gifts with you guys. And Brian, thank you again for being here and sharing these tips. It's something that sometimes can go below the radar because we are so busy as parents. And knowing that people like you are there, knowing that there are things that we need to be aware of when it comes to our kids' education, I really appreciate what you do. Any final words for our audience members before we finish?
Know that you are doing the most important job in the world, and we want to support you in accomplishing it to the best of your ability.
I love it. I love it. Well said. Couldn't have agreed better. Thank you, Brian. Take care,
Thanks
guys.
for having me.
Cheers. Bye.